When questions about the use of AI for mental health support come up, they generally fall into one of two categories. The question of, is it safe? And the question of, is it helpful? And that's totally understandable. These are the questions you would have if you were going to counseling for the first time. You would want to know, can I trust this person? And is this really going to help? Because that's what we're after. We're looking for help. We want to feel better. We want to find answers. And AI is a new resource, so we want to know, is it safe to use? But if we only ask those two questions, we end up with two camps, which are, don't trust it, and it's fine. I suggest we ask a third question, and that question takes it from full denial or full acceptance and into the realm of effective use. And that question is, who was the author of meaning? I'll get back to describing what I mean by that question, but first I want to quickly review the 3 prior episodes in this series. Normally I would just dive right in and we'd get going, but for this episode I think it's important that we review that through line that got us here. So in episode 1, we talked about that when we feel better after interacting with AI, that totally makes sense. And it's a real, legitimate feeling based on the interaction, because AI is able to provide effective listening patterns. It's able to provide accurate reflections. It's able to provide helpful information. We can't deny that AI provides an experience that helps. We also discussed that feeling better is not always the same as being helped. That helped means you have a stronger sense of self, greater self-efficacy, longer-term health. And that long-term health often happens when things have been uncomfortable. And so that criteria of feeling better overlooks that because of how fluent AI is, we may feel better from the interaction without actually becoming healthier. In episode 2, we discussed how humans integrate new information, and that if the information comes too quickly, we don't have a chance to engage it and integrate it. And so information now that we didn't author becomes a truth for us, and we don't feel this natural sense of, well, I questioned it before, so I can question it again now. And AI, because it's so fluent, so authoritative, can provide information so fast and put it in our words that we accept it because it feels correct. And it may be, but because of the speed at which we got it, we haven't fully integrated it, and we may not later on be as open to questioning it. Then in episode 3, we talked about responsibility for outcomes, that a key difference between person-to-person interaction and person-to-AI interaction is the presence or the lack of responsibility for outcomes. That the nature of interactions with AI is that the socially constructed accountability layers that would come in a person-to-person interaction don't exist. And so therefore, in that interaction, no one is responsible for following up on outcomes. I know I keep saying this. I am not saying don't use or trust AI. What I am saying is that the nature of the interactions with AI make it easy for the role of authoring meaning to drift to where AI begins to direct the process. This isn't unique to AI. You could reach out for help to a friend, a coach, a counselor, and there's the potential for them to overstep and put information before you so quickly, so succinctly, so clearly that you accept it without integrating it, and then they walk away without taking responsibility. It can happen with a human. But human interactions also have natural safeguards. And these are actually the things that AI doesn't do. We interrupt. We get distracted. We don't have time. We give bad advice. We don't understand. We're uncertain. We withdraw. We doubt. We bring our own stuff into the situation. These are all the annoyances in an interaction that AI doesn't do that makes the AI interaction feel so good. But These annoyances automatically slow down interactions, which allow us time to think, which allow us time to process, which allow us time to reflect and question and integrate. So though they may seem like failures in the interaction, they actually are what leave space open so that you can retain your authorship. Now, I'm not saying that human or AI interactions are better or worse. I'm just saying they are different. And unless you are aware of those dynamics, it's easy for us to lose our authorship when interacting with AI because of the speed and the fluency. Now, that's an important aspect of mental health, authorship. Having full integration and ownership of your own life, to fully understand yourself, to fully engage in your story, to fully accept responsibility for guiding yourself towards greater and greater health. So if we just ask, is it safe? We're now trying to place responsibility on an interaction dynamic that does not inherently have responsibility for outcomes. And if we just ask, is it helpful? We're allowing immediate relief to be the judge by which we decide if it's effective. But if we ask who authored the meaning, then we take responsibility for our own mental health and challenging ourselves to grow. It doesn't mean that if we ask that question, we're going to avoid all the pitfalls. No, this is the nature of the interaction with AI. And so these things are always going to impact us. But if we ask that question, then even when those things happen, we can work towards regaining our authorship before we move forward with action. And does asking all these questions assume that AI isn't helpful, that we can't trust it? No. That improved mood, that increased clarity, that decreased anxiety and uncertainty, those are real. By asking who authored the meaning doesn't deny their reality. It simply makes sure that you're not replacing feeling better from I was in charge of my growth. So the question is not about the effectiveness of AI for mental health support, but our ability to use it as a tool, not allow it to direct our life. Now, before we wrap up, I'm going to pause because there's a serious thing that we have to take into account, and that is that for most of us, when we reach out for mental health support, we're in a very vulnerable state. We're low on the self-regulation scale. We're low in self-belief. We're low in optimism. We're low in the ability to self-reflect. So the very things that we would need in order to be able to ask that question, the very things that would be helpful during the interaction in order to maintain authorship when we're working with AI, are the things that we are least able to do at this point. So, like I said in episode 1, this isn't about prompts or warnings, but I want to give you one option to consider. And the reason I present this as an option is for the reason we talked about in episode 3, responsibility. That as I created this video, I stepped into a person-to-person relationship with you, the viewer, where I hold responsibility for what I communicate. I have to consider that in my social contract, I have to make an effort to not do harm to others. And this is my intentional effort to fulfill that part of the social contract. So, if you are going to use AI for mental health support, consider telling someone else that you are doing so, and consider telling them what actions you are going to take based on the interaction. And if you can, pick that person and let them know before you need them. Because if fluency and speed during the interaction with AI can lead to a loss of authorship, then it's important that some sense of responsibility for evaluating the outcome is still in place. This isn't meaning find someone and tell them they are responsible for what happens, but it's saying find someone who can check in on you after you apply what you got from your interaction with AI.